Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh yeah! Woo! What? If you smell what the rock.
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Speak to me, warriors! Happy Halloween! Come from the Netherlands and touch the warriors who have come before you! For I come for the ultimate Halloween!
Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. My name is the Big Alboski. His name is the embarrassed Professor Keith. And we are being joined. We are being joined at this very moment by Mark Mest.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What is up?
I just made it in time.
I love it. I hope you had a good time trick-or-treating. I hope the nephews had fun.
I was good. We had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
I handed out candy, and I was out of candy by 6. I started at 5, and I was out by 6, and I got like 500 pieces of candy and like 80 bags of Hearst chips.
Wow. Holy crap.
You missed my embarrassing introduction where I did full warrior because we're talking Halloween Havoc tonight. And right. One of the worst matches in Halloween Havoc history is when WCW tried to recreate Warrior and Hogan from WrestleMania 6. It just wasn't the same. And so I did full warrior and welcome everybody to Around the Turnbuckle. Keith, you got a lot to say, so say it.
Yeah, boy, what happens when you have a match that's dependent on Pat Patterson and you don't have Pat Patterson? That's Hogan versus Warrior 2.
Yes.
Obviously, I've been sitting here this week per gimmick as the professor. I've been watching just about every Halloween Havoc this week. Trying to put together a list of like best in the world. I gotta be honest, when I got to 99 and 2000, I could not find a single match that I wanted to watch. So I'm going to fully admit that my list is completely personal. It's completely what I like and what I think is good, which really is what these best of lists come down to. And also I threw in some stuff that's just, I think we all historically agree was the kind of stuff that we just go, yeah, that wasn't good. And how the hell did that get on pay-per-view?
Well, I mean, I'm the first one to admit I didn't watch a lot of WCW back then. I didn't have cable, and it was hard for to watch a lot of stuff. So I'm going to be very rusty on a lot of this stuff. There's bits and pieces like Halloween Havoc. Like I've seen bits and pieces of pay-per-views, but I've never seen them full out just because back then I didn't have a cable. I didn't have a lot of my friends were like WCW were like, nah, we don't want to watch that. We'd rather watch WWF. So I was like, okay. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, but
yo, man, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was a loyal WWF guy also. When I was a kid, I refused to watch WCW because I was like, ew, no, that's not what it, that's something else. I don't like that. Ironically, now when AEW first started, I was excited because it was something else that wasn't WWE, right? So it's ironic how your mind changes as you grow up, as you get old. But
you got to realize, like when I first started watching wrestling, I was watching it, back when Saturday Night's Main Events kind of started.
Yes.
I was very young yet, so getting into it. But going through high school, like it was all WWF. Even though there was NWA and a little bit of WCW, it really wasn't WCW till what, like 91-ish, 90, 91, I think. It was more NWA.
Yeah, they kind of kicked the NWA out by then.
Yeah, but like all my friends in high school were like WWF. There are a couple of my friends that, hey, we should watch NWA this, NWA that, and I would watch a little bit of that. But through school, if he goes, "Hey, do you know who Ric Flair is?" They're like, "Who?" Sting, who? Horseman, who? But then as soon as you hear Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage,
Yep.
the main guys, they're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of him. I've heard of this. I've heard of that." But when it comes to WCW and NWA, nobody had a clue. Like nobody. So it was more, a lot of my friends were that way. Like, they didn't know who Ric Flair was. Like, he was a big world champion. Nobody knew who Ricky Steamboat earlier in the years. But, like, when you got to the mainstays of NWA, when you talked about the Horsemen, you talked about Lex Luger, Barry Windham, the mainstays, Stinger, nobody knew who they were. It was just, like they were just somebody that nobody really cared about then.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But so what I did this week to prepare for this episode, and by the way, happy Halloween, everybody. Don't adjust your
Halloween.
sets. Don't adjust your sets. I do have my face painted like the Ultimate Warrior. I got to give a shout out to my wife who did it literally in the last 15, 20 minutes. So I don't think she did too bad.
Speaking of Warrior, I do have a story about the Warrior if you'd want to hear it.
Go ahead.
Of course.
I first broke in '91, and we were doing a what they called a ring rental. What we used to do, I didn't own the school yet. My brother and I didn't own the school. We were down at the Radisson for a big. It wasn't like a pay-per-view. It was like a big event in Philly, and it was at the Radisson Hotel. They were doing like an all-day wrestling thing. Then they were doing a nighttime show. And there were a lot of names like Road Warrior Animal, British Bulldog. This is, like I said, I want to say like somewhere like 92-ish. So Ultimate Warrior was there. And my first impressions of the Warrior, this is kind of how it stuck me throughout the years, is we had to set the ring up. That was our job, was to set the ring up and whatnot all. And we got there real early, thinking that we could get in early. Well, no, they had that show first, and then the big convention, and then so we sat around all day until it was finally time to do the ring. Well, we're bringing stuff in, and we had to go like to the third, third story, so we could put stuff up in the service elevator. But the rest of the stuff, like the big things, had to go up the big freaking steps, and the big pieces had to go, and it was like one of them spirals, so it was really like hard to get up. We're in the service area bringing stuff up. We get to I think it was like the third floor. There's Warrior, and he's like looking at us. All of a sudden, he starts yelling, "Security! Security! What are these guys doing here?" We're like, "Dude, we got to set the ring up. I want these guys out of here. They don't belong up here." I'm going, like, dude, we're bringing the ring in. And he started like flipping out on us and other people. Like, we had to get out of there. They had to calm him down to tell him that like they have to bring this stuff in. They wanted it for the show. Like, I hate to say, he was a complete ass. Like, I'm like, he saw we had big stuff to take in, but he flipped out on us. And that kind of stuff, being young in the business, I was like, man, like Warrior. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Warrior's great." I'm like, "No, he's an ass. Like, nobody likes him." It was just horrible experience, so
I've heard things. I mean, over the years, a lot of fans and a lot of different people, a lot of wrestlers have said good and bad about the Warrior. I mean, even the WWF released that DVD called "The Rise and Fall" of the Ultimate Warrior, and then they got rid of it when they brought him back to be in the Hall of Fame. They just it's gone. You can't find it anywhere. It's not on the network. It's not anywhere to be found.
They're buried.
It's funny though. Well, yeah, we always say never in this business, because like one minute you're being trashed, the next minute you're bringing back, and all of a sudden, like, wait a minute.
Yep.
You just trashed the guy. Now you're going to bring him back.
For real.
I was talking about in the Facebook group today, the power of WWE. Somebody was talking about, Vince McMahon in terms of the Netflix deal that was just announced for a documentary on him. And I said, Vince is not the first guy to think about going national when cable became a thing. But between his work ethic, between where his promotion was based in terms of a media market and everything else, Vince was the guy that was best positioned to do what he's done in terms of what he's made his company. And he's come to a point where it's basically what Vince McMahon thinks of you is what's going to be your legacy. And Warrior's a perfect example. When Warrior was on the outs, they were willing to publish all the blemishes, talk about all the horrible shit he did, how bad he would treat people. And you still hear people that are not in WWE now, like Jim Ross, Jim Cornette, whoever, talking about, Warrior's thing about Destrucity and that he was basically a guy that was out for himself. But because Warrior died in grace with WWE, you are never going to hear WWE say a bad thing about Warrior at this point in time because he's so focused and featured in a lot of our marketing now. I work retail. I think we brought this up before. I work at a retail store, and just about every time I see WWE figures in the aisle there, Warrior is prominently factored in every figure line they have now. They're completely glossing over any of his blemishes, and they want you to believe that Ultimate Warrior was this giant star and this great guy.
Well, Vince isn't dumb. Like, Vince is a businessman. And I shouldn't say, like, any big business, they look about how to make money. Back then when he was ready, the outs, Ultimate Warrior, they didn't want nothing to do with him. But, like, all of a sudden, when they had an opportunity, like, hey, this guy's going to be relevant again, we bring him back, we can make money, we can make a DVD, we can do this, we can do that. All of a sudden, like, hey, there's money to be made, so now we're going to do the right thing and keep him, let's, forget the past, like it never happened, because, I mean, when it comes down to politics and money and politics are always going to win, and unfortunately, that's the way, not just the wrestling business, but every business is. If you're in with a company and they get rid of you, but they realize it was a mistake and that you made them a lot of money, they're going to kiss your ass to bring you back because, damn, this guy was money and we didn't notice it. And that's the way it works everywhere anymore. So it doesn't surprise me because I've seen a lot in the business. So that's why we always say never, because don't ever say it, because whatever you say, the next day could be the exact opposite of what's happening.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how we got on just the Ultimate Warrior, but Keith did come up with
his name up. Whenever you bring his name up, it seems like you're always going to sidetrack in the Warrior.
Unfortunately, yes. So Keith came up with a list, Mark. Since you and I are not as keen, like I said before, I did watch some matches from Halloween Havoc on the network this week to kind of brush up on it. But Keith came up with a list of the best matches and the worst, and it's up to him which ones he wants to bring up first.
Okay.
So I'll talk about some of the stuff I enjoyed. Like I say, it's obviously anytime you do a best of or even a worst of, it's subjective. So these are the things that when I went through Halloween Havoc, I started in 89, and I went through to about 98 was the last time I found a match I was willing to watch, and then it got very storyline heavy, so even the stuff I wanted to watch, by the end of it, I'm like, that wasn't very good use of my time. Now, was it? By the time I got to 99 2000, I'm like, no, there's too much obvious Vince Russo here. I can't do it. So starting from that, the first thing I came up with was the Midnight Express and Dr. Death versus the Samoan SWAT team and the Samoan Savage. Yeah. So the SWAT team, I think most of our audience is going to know better as the Head Shrinkers from their WWF run. And the Samoan Savage was, I believe, the Tonga Kid.
The Tonga Kid.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I did have that right. Good fast-paced match, good wrestling. Normally, six-mans are clusterfucks that I don't usually enjoy. But this one, I thought it made sense. It was logical.
I think Mark disagrees with you on six-man tags.
No. Actually, no. I totally exactly know what he means, because in wrestling, it's always like, okay, singles is one thing, tags another, but as soon as you start branching, 3 ways, 4 ways, 6-man, 8-mans. Unless you know how to do those, they're complete clusterfucks. Right, exactly. They're just, out the window because, there's it can be done. It can be done right. But the trouble is nobody wants to listen to the right way. There's a certain way to do 6-mans. There's a certain way to do 8-mans. It's just that nobody does that. And then on top of it, a lot of promoters are like, hey, we want you to do a 6-man or 8-man. Yeah, we'll give you like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
Can't do that.
That's not a lot of time. So
Not to get everything in.
Right, exactly. So I mean, if one thing it's just a filler match, guys go out there, do whatever, we don't care. Okay, but to bring any type of story into the mix, even to tell a story in the match, that takes, it takes time to develop. But the guys have to be willing to do that. Most guys are in for themselves, like, hey, what can I do if I can get in? I need to get in to do this. I need to get in to do that. Well, I want to do this. Well, we can't do all that. So, something's got to give here. And then nobody wants to give, and then, all of a sudden, you see one or two guys that do hardly nothing during the match because they didn't get anything in because everybody else wanted to get their stuff in. But yeah, they're clusters. They can be big clusters.
Yeah, and I like this because I felt like everybody was getting their stuff in, but they were working together to make a good match. It wasn't like you said, that selfish thing of going, I want to get in, I want to get me in, and I don't care if anybody else gets anything or gets over in this.
And here's the other thing, too, is you just said it right there, working together. That's the key. You can be for yourself to make sure that you get kind of stuff if you want to get something in, but because you're going to have a time where you're going to be able to shine in there. Whether it's 30 seconds, whether it's a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever it is, you're going to have that time. But it's got to be placed at the right place for that to happen. So when you work together with the rest of the guys going, hey, it's like putting the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Hey, that all works great. But when you start going A, P, C, X, Y, it's a cluster. Why? Because it's not, because you're not working together. You got to work together to make it work. So.
Yep. So Keith, what else you got? That was a pretty good 6-man tag. I do remember watching that one, and yes, that was a pretty good 6-man tag. So that belongs on your best of Halloween Havoc list.
All right, the next thing I had was the Steiner Brothers versus Doom, which is Ron Simmons and Butch Reed.
Yes,
this was before the masks were taken off. They'd kind of just been put together with Woman as their manager because Woman had just turned on Rick Steiner and all that. I mean, I love the Steiners. I'm a mark for the Steiners. I really am. I love how physical they were. Their shit looks real because, as everybody tells you, the Steiners were stiff. There was not a lot of, air gap in what they did. Butch Reed and Ron Simmons, physically impressive. Their stuff looks good, too. I love tag team wrestling, so this kind of hit all my biases for what I love and what I look for.
And the other thing too is you got to think like the Steiner brothers. They were legit guys. They could wrestle. These guys really messed you up if they wanted to. Yeah. So, I mean, and Simmons, Butch Reed, those guys have been around. So they, even though they were never put together, but working together for the first couple of times, if you're a true professional, you figure out how to click. And Doom did. It didn't take long. Those guys were clicking really good. Throwing in the Steiner brothers then, the Steiner brothers were a great team. I mean,
what year was that match? What year was that match? Do you know?
I believe that was on the 89 show.
The 89 show? Yeah. Just in case anybody doesn't know, Havoc went, I think, 11 or 12 years. It went from 89
to 2000.
2000. Yeah, so, obviously,
you got to realize that time frame was pretty hot for wrestling.
Oh yeah,
and even starting 89, business was still closed. A lot of the business up until the mid 90s, it was closed, hard to get in, and protected very well. Yeah. A lot of people didn't know the ins and outs, the smart marks. There was no internet then yet,
right?
So nobody oh hey, this is what's going to happen. Yeah, you had the dirt sheets.
There was, kayfabe was more, not quite broken.
Well, and like, and today, like, even though like everybody said kayfabe's dead,
I don't know if
I don't
it's dead. People choose to. You know what I mean?
It's a choice. Like
there is a group of wrestling fans, and I don't know how big it is, but there's a group of wrestling fans that refuse to acknowledge that, and they say it's still real to us. There's even a website, I believe, that's called "It's Still Real to Us," and it's a group of fans that continue to live as if kayfabe's not dead. It's still there. You know what I mean?
Well, think of it this way. I always look at it like this. I always figured, wrestling to me is magic. Just like you take somebody like Chris Angel or somebody they do great magic and it's a great magic trick, and you sit there and go, oh man, like, how did he do all that? Okay. He doesn't tell you the secrets because it's magic, and if you find out how it works, oh crap, now the magic's gone. Today everybody wants to know what goes on, and when they find out, and then everything sucks because they know what's going to happen or they know what's going on. But I'm a true believer in this. If you love wrestling, if you love anything, okay, there's magic there to be happen. If you just have to make it happen. For example, look at trick or treating, okay, tonight.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, I mean, do I believe in like the afterlife, the spirits and ghosts? Sure, but everybody goes out and dresses up as whatever they want to be, whatever. For one night, everybody's whoever they want to be. They get candy and they have fun. The kids love it. The adults love it. So you go out and you produce that magic. Same way with, Christmas. People that believe or don't believe. The more you make it believe and the magic's there, it makes people like, second guess themselves. Like, even like the kids, especially because, it's so good for them, and like you make it what you want it to be. If you want to be the Debbie Downer and kill it, so be it. But,
never.
Don't be that person and be that upright and make it yours. And that's why I believe in wrestling.
My mother has a picture. My mother has a picture somewhere of a 15, 16-year-old Big Al Boski dressed up like the Undertaker handing out candy. And not only was I dressed up like the Undertaker, but I was I'm sorry, like he came in 90, 14, so 15 or 16 years old. So it was 91, 92. Okay. And I was dressed up like the Undertaker, and I sat there on a chair and did not move. I was stone cold, did not move, had my eyes closed, and my mom was sitting on the other side of the porch handing out candy. And kids would walk up to me, and I'd have my eyes closed, and I'd go, and it would scare the shit out of them. And some of them didn't even know who the hell I was. They just thought I was this creepy creepy guy, you know? But some of the kids did know who I was, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's the Undertaker!"
Right.
Which I thought was so cool.
Yeah, I did something like that around then too. We did like a haunted lawn one year, and I was just in a mask and whatnot, laying out in a coffin, and I just let people get close to look at it, and I scared some of the parents too if I timed it right, where they just thought, "Oh, it's some dummy, it's some wax figure they threw in the coffin," and then I pop up and they're like, "Oh crap, that's real!" Like,
I love Halloween, man. Halloween is the best time of year. All right, screw Christmas, screw Easter, all that stuff. Halloween's my favorite. It always has been my favorite. I when I have the kids, obviously I take them trick or treating, but this Halloween I did not have the kids, so I was able to hand out candy and see all the costumes. It was so cool, and a lot of the parents were dressed up too. But let's get back to Halloween Havoc. Keith, what's your next match on your list?
So my next match actually agrees with WWE Network, and I'm sure some older school fans, if they only watched a certain segment of one of the individuals in this match's career, I feel like they're going to look at this and they're going to go, "The professor has betrayed us, and he doesn't know what he's talking about."
Well,
but go back and watch the match. It's really, really good, and that's Lex Luger versus Brian Pillman.
Okay.
For the United States title.
Right. What year was that?
I believe that one came also from 89. A lot of
89.
it came from the first show.
Okay.
It was 89 or 90. Might have
And
been
what
off
about
the
that?
90 show.
I circa remember that match, but what about it stood out to you?
I mean, just obviously Pillman was the leader there. You know, Luger was definitely a guy that worked with a lot of great talents because he started in the NWA first. You know, he had the Horsemen to work with, against, or with. He had Brian Pillman. He had guys like that. So, I mean, you have guys that can lead a broomstick to a great match. And, I mean, Luger was a good worker at that point in time. I think when he got to a WWF, part of his problem was Vince wanted another Hulk Hogan, and Luger was not going to be another Hulk Hogan. So I feel like Luger probably wasn't booked to his strengths there, and it just didn't come off. But I mean, you watch something like this, and really a lot of my list, I look at it, and you know, Brian Pillman kind of emerges as a hero
Yeah.
for Halloween Havoc. Has a lot of great matches on this pay-per-view.
It seemed like he was like the Shawn Michaels of Halloween Havoc for a while there, right?
He was in a lot of ways. I think he's Mr. Halloween Havoc when you look at him.
Pillman was a really good worker too. Like, I mean, like he never disappointed. Like, you know, he had a lot of great matches with a lot of different guys there. You know, so I mean, Luger though, I mean, as much he was good, but a lot of his issues though, like he was very basic, you know, and like, you know, he needed to work with somebody to get him elevated because I mean, when it came down to like a basic generic worker, he was good. It's just that there was not like his character was there, but like didn't have a lot of charisma behind him, you know.
Yeah.
So that's and then working with somebody like Pillman, I'm sure up to his game because you know Brian was going to make sure that you know that match was going to be phenomenal because that's who he was.
All right, guys, I need to say a few things here real quick. Anybody watching this that is watching this on the watch party I started, which I got rid of. I started a watch party. What happens with the watch parties, and me and Mr. Spitter have figured this out, is that if people are watching on the watch parties, they can't comment. They can comment, but I won't see it, and nobody will see it up in the show on the live stream. So if you guys are watching and you're watching this on the watch party, get the hell out of there and go either to 2M1L Media's page or around the Turnbuckles page, and then we'll see your comments. A big shout out to Urban Legend. He is watching. Urban Legend, what's up, my man? Happy Halloween. Prince Shango is also watching. Shango. Yeah, Shango is watching. He will appear once he gets on the right page. I guarantee you on that.
Yeah, Shango's never shy or quiet.
Especially on Halloween.
Mm.
And I just watched something from Shango from SSW, which was amazing. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I don't know if Keith agrees with it. I sent it to him. Mark, I don't know if you've seen it at all.
I don't think so. Probably not.
No, so Shango just did an SSW match where it was a pumpkin patch match.
Okay.
And the idea of the match was they basically had a contract inside a pumpkin in the ring, but they started the match in the woods. And so they had to fight in the woods and in a creek. And they kept getting interrupted by many other different guys and stuff like that, including Mike Myers and some other people. But eventually, they got themselves to the ring, and his opponent, Tyler, I forget his opponent. I'm sorry, Shango might be able to tell me, but
I'm sure he will.
He ended up
Tyler Ash.
What?
Tyler Ash? Tyler Ash?
Tyler Ash.
Okay.
I think it was Tyler. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I'll send it to you if you want to see it. It's really funny.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I know you do your. So speaking of your own thing, Outbreak TV lately has been off the hook.
Thank you.
Yeah, kudos to you. It's very intense.
We've been trying to like up it and stuff. Like tonight we had the Halloween special starting at 7. So
which was at 7.
Yeah. Tonight's episode was like about an hour and a half long. We've had, I think there's like 9 matches.
His opponent was Warwolf Creed.
Oh, Warwolf. Okay. Warwolf Creed. Okay.
Creed. Got it. Yeah.
But tonight's episode was the Contagion Cup. Where it was like 9 matches, and there was two non-tournament matches. But it was our Halloween special. We wanted to give something to everybody since it was falling on, on a Saturday and everything. So the guys busted their humps. I did my best to edit everything to make it look as Halloweenish as possible. So I hope everybody likes it. So if you guys get a chance to watch it, please go back, because being that I'm sure it's over by now. It is 8:30, started at 7. So if it's not over, it's almost over.
But they can check it out, right? They can check it out on YouTube.
Check it out.
Yeah.
YouTube. Yep, the Outbreak Wrestling channel. Yeah, search for Outbreak Wrestling on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to it, because every Saturday night at 7 o'clock, an episode's dropping.
You drop another. Yep. You drop another one, and so check that out, guys, because it's fun. Mean Mark does the commentary. It's fun to watch. In lieu of some of you guys can't get out and see these shows live. Some of you guys are not doing live shows. So if you want to see some wrestling, local wrestling, and support your local wrestling, go to YouTube, go to Outbreak Wrestling, and subscribe to that channel, and you'll know when he drops another episode, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot funner for me, and Keith should check it out. It's a lot funner for me to watch than SmackDown or Raw, to be honest with you.
And the good thing is, like, when we first started it, we've been doing between like half-hour to 45-minute shows. So, but tonight's episode is number 18. So technically, we have 4.5 months already since we've been doing this.
Nice.
We started on the 4th of July weekend, and we've done an episode every Saturday since. So it's like a story from So
and basically, because
you're gonna miss, but it's a story from start to, and it's just continuing to go.
Obviously, Shanga with this comment missed my opening segment with the Warrior. There is a reason, Mr. Shango, that I am painted
and he's being Shango.
There is a reason why I am painted the Ultimate Warrior, because we are talking about Halloween Havoc, and Halloween Havoc has good matches and bad matches. Keith, do you have any more good, or are we switching to bad?
I do have a few more good.
Okay.
I will shock people that know me. There is actually way more good than bad on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Another match I had that was really good, and you'll notice a lot of these were not main event matches. These were things that were either openers or mid-card matches. I had Bobby Eaton versus Terry Taylor. Forget Terry Taylor's gimmick in this match. The gimmick was awful, but the work was great. And, just hearing, if you're a wrestling fan and you hear, wait, Bobby Eaton wrestled Terry Taylor, of course you want to watch that.
Why is it that Keith blinks once every 10 minutes?
I honestly hadn't.
You have a death stare, my friend. A death stare. All right.
I have heard that.
That's my wife. Hey, I thought you did a pretty good job too for being Rust. Yes, you did. Bad matches, all things Mongo.
Yeah, basically, if I saw Mongo in the description, I was like, and skip.
Oh, buddy.
All right, so you got any more good?
I had the main. Actually, I do have a main event match. The main event of Halloween Havoc 1993. Cactus Jack versus Vader. If you don't like that match, how do you not like that match?
Right there, two guys that talk. You talk about either guy. Those I met Cactus a bunch of times. He's a great dude. Like I said, I got a chance to meet Vader. We never had that match, but like, just the vibes off them guys. Like, if you don't get something from them guys, then you don't know what wrestling's about.
Yeah, fantastic. 2 all-timers, 2 Hall of Famers. Obviously, when you put them together in Halloween Havoc, you know, I don't think it could have been bad, right? But I did see it, and it was rough and tumble, and it was everything that Vader and Cactus Jack in their primes could do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you got Harley Race there on the outside as a bonus.
As a cat, I was so glued to that match. There you go, Keith. You touched a nerve.
Yep. I mean, because how can you not love that? Because like Mark said, that is
He's showing his age there. He was a kid watching that match, like in 1993.
So were you?
I was I was 17 years old when that match happened.
Okay, fine. So Shango and I were young, and you are just proving you're an old bastard.
Mark, you see what I got to deal with, man, brother? Come on.
I know, right? What the heck, you know? Like,
I get attacked every show, you know? Every show. These bastards have no respect.
Because you call us bastards. Because we know at the end of the day you don't respect.
Who called who a bastard first? You called me an old bastard. Okay,
I don't remember that. Even though it was 30 seconds ago, I don't remember it.
Back to your list.
Back to my list. So the next thing I had on the list was Steve Austin versus Dustin Rhodes for the television title. Now, a lot of people will criticize this one because they're going to go, well, wait a minute, there's no finish in that match. Mm-hmm. But I'm a guy that believes in the storytelling aspect. 143.
Can you hear this?
I gotta be fair and I gotta defend it. You're actually off. It is 150. He lies it down to 143.
You both can suck.
I'm just saying. But what I liked about this match, and what I like about matches like this, is when you do the time limit gimmick and you let the heel get out of it with a time limit, you can actually come back and you can rematch it later. And about a year or so later at Halloween Havoc, that's actually what they did. Although they didn't quite do it like you would think. It's not for the television title at that point. It's for the United States title. And we do see, we went to Triple WA last week, and one of the best matches on the show was Tony Batista versus Mark Atkins.
Rob Atkins.
Rob Atkins, I'm sorry. Rob Atkins, and they went to a time limit draw, and I actually showed that to my 6-year-old, and he was like, wow, this is great. I want to go see if you guys go to the next show, I want to go and I want to see it. So time limit draws like that are very effective when they're done correctly. So sometimes a non-finish is not the worst thing in the world, especially if you do it at the right place on the show, which I felt like this did.
All right. So what else you got?
I've got, once again, the hero of Halloween Havoc, Brian Pillman. Newly a heel versus Ricky Morton. Actually, he wasn't a heel at that point. He was versus Ricky Morton. This was for the short-lived WCW light heavyweight title. Yes. Again, Ricky Morton was part of that Alexandra York thing. So he's Richard Morton. Okay. He's wearing suits, which doesn't really make sense. You know, right. So once the bell rings and the bullshit of the gimmick is off, you got Brian Pillman versus Ricky Morton.
Ricky Morton. Yeah.
Right. I actually got a chance to wrestle Ricky Morton once on a 6-man for Tate Hammer, the ACW Atomic Championship Wrestling. And one of the guys that he trained, who was big on the indie scene until he passed away, Rockin' Rebel. They finished me. I took the pin, the double drop kick, you know. So it was kind of cool to take something from somebody like, you know. It was just like, hey, I'll take it. I don't care, you know. I was in the ring with Ricky Morton, so you know, I'm happy. You know, I'm in there with a legend. How can you say no to anything, you know?
For real.
Yeah, Ricky Morton, kind of one of those definitions of a baby face, definition of selling, doing the hot tag, like that. That's a guy that's a guy that you absolutely want to look at when you're trying to teach somebody how to do this.
Want to say hi? One of my nephews want to say hi really quick. Say, go ahead, say hi.
What's up,
Oh,
buddy?
okay.
Mark needs his
He's
own
hyper,
book.
he's
Mark,
hyper on candy.
Mark, Mark, you ever think about writing a book? Shango says you need your own book.
I do, honestly. Believe it or not, there were so many ways. Like I wasn't sure how to go about it, like to write it and everything. There's a girl that used to take pictures. I don't know if she still does for Tate. She said that she would be my ghostwriter.
There you go.
You know, and at first I didn't know what it was. She's like, "We'll talk, whatever you want in the book. I'll write everything down, whatever, you know, and then we'll, put it, into perspective." I was like, "Oh, okay," and then COVID kind of hit, so that kind of been put on the back burner. But yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to write a couple of books, honestly, just haven't got a chance to pull the trigger. But now with the internet, somebody brought to my attention. I thought maybe that might even be better. It's like a book. It's not an audio book, but like a videography type of thing.
Yeah.
Where I can sit down and we can talk about different things and whatnot, all and stuff. So, I mean, I definitely want to write the book, but I'm thoughting too, like maybe a videography where we can sit down and talk about different things instead of just, writing a book. There's some people that don't want to read it, even though they want to listen to it. But third option is to watch it. I'm thinking like maybe that's something for down the road as well. So I'm trying to keep all my options open, honestly.
All right, Keith, we got like 20 minutes left. Let's get to the juicy stuff. Let's get to the worst. Let's get to the worst of Halloween Havoc, eh?
All right. Just so people don't accuse me of being a complete Philistine, I did put Eddie versus Ray, that cruiserweight title from '97, on the best list.
Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio.
Right. So credibility piece there. Mask versus title.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to the stuff that's bad.
Yes.
So we did start with this one. I think undisputedly the worst thing that did not work whatsoever on Halloween Havoc. Hogan versus Warrior from Halloween Havoc '98. I think there's a cottage industry now on shitting on Hogan versus Warrior from '98. I can think of at least 2 or 3 different podcasts that have done at least one episode shitting on Hogan versus Warrior.
You, Professor, have invoked the power of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember bits and pieces of it. I said I never watched a lot of it, but you got to look at it in perspective. Like when I first got in, like I'd watch TV and I'd watch some stuff and be like, boy, this guy's bad, that guy's horrible, this guy. Then like one day my eyes open, going, they're where I want to be.
Yeah.
Like they have a contract, they're making money.
Yes.
I'm not. So yeah, I don't like this guy, but at the same time, he's got a 6-figure contract, maybe 7-figure, depending who the guy is. Yeah, he may not be very good.
Hogan.
But
I think Hogan was always better than some people gave him credit for.
No, it's not that. It's not that. I'm just saying he got paid a lot.
He did.
W days.
WWE too. He's a great advocate for himself.
Shango's just
like
jealous that I'm not beating his chest.
I look at it this way, like after a while in the business, things kind of really changed my perspective on things. There's some matches that are like, oh, like really bad. I can say like, yeah, I didn't like it. It was bad, but like to sit there and trash them.
Listen, Mark,
like I said, they're making money. I'm not.
The thing is, speaking of Warrior and Hogan 2 from Halloween Havoc, whatever year that was, Keith, 94, 95?
98.
98? Okay, 98.
Yeah, Hogan was NWO.
I apologize. The problem with it was this. It will always be compared to the first one, let alone that the work was bad, the setup was bad. There was a lot bad with it.
Yeah, and I mean, and
Right.
some of
Even
it is
if it-
not their
even-
fault.
even if
I
it-
think WCW was firmly overbooking
Right.
anything that
Even-
involved the NWO and any of that by that point.
Even
You couldn't
if
just
they-
have a match. There always had to be some kind of shenanigans involved.
Right. Even if they killed it, even if they had the right booking of it, even if they had it, done better, they would always be held up to WrestleMania 6. And that's the problem. And so
Right.
to recreate that kind of thing, that was like a once in a lifetime thing where you had those two basically entities.
It's kind of like it's kind of like the same thing with like Hogan Flair. Like, when Flair was first going to go back to first time go to WWF, and they're like, oh man, Hogan Flair, like, oh my God, champion, like this could be great.
Right.
And they did it. They teased it. They had house shows.
They had house shows on it.
They never really developed it. They never really like hit it out of the park. And then, when they went to WCW, they were trying it there. It was like, by then it was like everybody like, no, don't do this because it's not going to be very good.
Everybody didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody cared. Right.
You can steal a house with the first one, but after that, and I think part of it is the problem with, especially early on in WCW, Kevin Sullivan talked about it, was we had to make Hogan comfortable. And a lot of the stuff that you don't like that you see us doing with WCW, the Dungeon of Doom and all that stuff, that was me trying to make Hogan comfortable and get Hogan's trust as a booker, because Hogan also had that creative control in his contract. So if he doesn't trust the booker and the booker says, hey, Hulk, I'm going to have you lose this one to come back at the next show or 3 weeks from now, and you're going to win, but we need to build that up. If he doesn't trust the booker, Hogan can go, nah, that doesn't work for me, brother. I'm just going to beat everybody now. And
of course, that's also in the time frame too, where at that point, like 98 on, guys started booking their own kind of stuff. Like there was no like Vince with WWF. Had Vince. If he said no, that's the end of the statement. WCW guys, especially in the NWO, started booking their own. Like, I don't like that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But nope. I don't want that finish. I don't want that to happen. Nope. We're over tonight. We're not. Too many guys had so many creative control that like all of a sudden it'd be like nobody wants to do the job. So now there's a fight of power in the back, which you can't give the power to the boys. Once you do, it turns out that it's just going to be the point where, the guys are going to run the asylum, and that's just not good.
So top of your list was Warrior, Hogan, Halloween Havoc 98, and it was terrible. So we implore you, do not watch it.
Unless you're gonna put like the Tony Schiavone, what happened when, funny commentary over it or something like that.
Sure.
Maybe have a few drinks or something before it. Don't try to do it straight.
Right.
Don't do it straight.
All right. So what's next on your worst list?
So next on my worst list, which is also infamous too, the Thunderdome cage from Halloween Havoc 89. There is a match that should have been great, right? You got Sting and Flair on one side. You've got Funk and Muda on the other.
Funk and Muda.
In a cage.
Yeah.
And then WCW put a hat on a hat and said, oh, not only is it a cage match, but we're electrifying the cage, which doesn't work because your guys climbing on the cage and nothing's happening. They're not even selling like they're being electrocuted. The four announcers are trying to say, there's 50,000 volts running through them or whatever. And then when they do turn the electricity or something on, because they can't just have the cage with the electricity, because it's Halloween, we've got to put decorations on it, and the decorations catch on fire at one point.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's bad because it's tragic, because it should be good based on the talent involved, and because the company overbooks it and does all this crazy crap on top of it, it just winds up not working.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, all right. So what else is on your list?
The rather infamous Chamber of Horrors, which everybody remembers as Abdullah the Butcher gets electrocuted in an electric chair. Do you even need to say more than that? We had a match where the finish is you put somebody in an electric chair and you electrocute them.
And if I
Mark,
remember
clearly you
correctly,
saw
isn't that the one where they brought everything down and Cactus almost got squashed as it came down,
Yeah.
or something?
Yes.
Or somebody else, because like they were like, get out of the way, and like they were doing stuff so they could come down. I'm just like, I remember that one pretty well.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's bad. So bad.
Stores were
buddy.
bad.
So bad.
All right, Keith, what else you got?
Next is Sting versus Sid, because Sting versus Sid is not bad enough.
Yeah.
What puts it over the top is this is another chapter in the Black Scorpion.
The Black Scorpion.
The magical
Black
Black Scorpion sorcerer shows up at the end of this match. Folks, if you don't know what the Black Scorpion was, don't watch it. Just go on Wikipedia and look it up and find
Who's
out
the
what
Black
the story was.
Scorpion?
Yeah, isn't there, Keith, don't they do a segment pre-match where he kidnaps like an audience member and he disappears behind a curtain?
Oh God, yeah.
You know, he pulls a David Copperfield, pulls some girl behind a curtain.
Yeah, the Black Scorpion was magic.
Right.
Magic.
And didn't they have a fake Sting take the fall and Sid beat him in the finish? Like a fake, there was a fake Sting, and he took the fall, and they're like, and they gave the title to Sid, but then they're like, no, that wasn't Sting.
Yeah.
So the match continues, and Sting beats him.
Yeah, it is painful.
Yeah, I don't remember it all, but
Okay.
the glory days.
The glory days.
All right, so what else you got?
So my last entry, I do have an honorable mention though. But my last entry is Hogan versus the Giant from Halloween Havoc 1995.
Mark.
Do I have to explain to anyone here why this one made it? I know I have to explain it to the audience because at least some of them were not alive to watch this. First, they had monster trucks in a ring tied together, and it's Hulk Hogan's monster truck versus the Giant and his monster truck having a monster truck sumo match. Yes, a monster truck sumo match on a professional wrestling pay-per-view that they expected you to pay money for. And one of those suckers who paid money for that was a young Professor Keith and his brother.
Brothers.
And the finish, after I believe Hogan wins,
he
and the Giant get out of the trucks. They fight with each other. Hogan theoretically commits murder when he knocks the Giant off the roof of Cobo Hall.
All right.
But it's fine in the end because it turns out it's only attempted murder because the Giant's okay and he comes back. And then he and Hogan proceed to have a world title match with the Giant not even selling, falling off a roof. And then in the finish, we have the Yeti. Come out. The Yeti. Ron Reese covered in toilet paper.
So, to sum up, Mark, Halloween Havoc was 11 or 12 years. It had some good stuff. It had some classic Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio matches and things of that nature. I think
it had a missed opportunity main event. Yeah. I truly believe it was a missed opportunity. Was Jake Roberts versus Sting with the spin the wheel, make the deal match, where they have a coal miner's glove match. And I think one of the reasons that didn't come off, other than the snake nonsense with Sting at the end of it, was I think they did an absolutely poor job of explaining the stipulation and explaining why you should be afraid of a coal miner's glove and why a coal miner's glove is such an effective weapon to use against them.
Matter of fact, my brother and I did a couple of them coal miner glove matches when we kind of like turned and faced each other years and years ago. I think I did it with somebody else too, but like this day and age, nobody knows what that is. Like the coal miner's glove, like, what's that? It's a glove. Okay, so what? Okay, back in the 90s, everybody knew what that was because of how it was. But this day and age, nobody knows.
All
That's the
right.
sad part.
Before we
That's my point. If you're gonna have a weapon, if it's not a weapon that everybody easily knows why it hurt, you have to do the extra homework of saying this is why it hurts and this is why you don't want to get hit with it.
Right. Yeah.
Before we do the next segment, Mark, I want you to remind everybody where they can catch your stuff that you're up to. What are you up to nowadays on Outbreak Wrestling?
Outbreak Wrestling every Saturday night, 7 p.m. We drop a new episode. Tonight's episode is a Halloween special, so it's over by now. But if you guys want to get a chance to watch it, go to Outbreak Wrestling on the YouTube channel. Look for it, search for it. We've been dropping one ever since the 4th of July, and we're just trying to get better and better. Anybody out there that wants to wrestle? My brother and I still got the Dungeon University right outside of Reading, Pennsylvania. We train guys and girls if they want to ref, manage, you name it. It's what we do. We've been doing it for, this is my 29th year in the business. We've been training guys for 27 years. So I think we kind of know what we're doing a little bit. At least I like to hope so.
Where's the dungeon exactly? Is it
Blandon? It's in a town called Blandon. It's about 5-6 miles north.
I know exactly where Blandon is because I deliver chips to Turkey Hill and Blandon.
You're literally probably 3-4 minutes from. We are like literally 2 minutes from Giorgio Mushrooms, where Giorgio Foods is.
Yeah, because when you're out, and if anybody's never been to Blandon, when you're in Blandon and you go to the Blandon Turkey Hill and you step out, you can smell the mushrooms, so to speak.
Yep. Oh yeah. But literally like
it's not pleasant.
In Giorgio's, right. At Giorgio's where you can go in and stuff, there's a road there called Westner Road. Yeah. You turn down that road and we're literally in there, quarter mile if that. So
when are you there? When are you there ordinarily?
We train Wednesday and Friday nights from like 6 to like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes we do an occasional Saturday or Sunday, depending. Those are kind of like as we go. Somebody can't make it on a Wednesday or a Friday. If we don't have any shows or anything going on Saturday, if people wanted to train, we'll open up. Or if Sunday, like matter of fact, I might be opening up tomorrow for a little bit.
There you go.
Probably from like noon to like 3 o'clock. It's an occasional once in a while if guys can't make it during the week. But, our schedule is very flexible. Our Wednesdays and Fridays are almost every week, unless it would like fall on a holiday or something. Or this time of weather and we get some bad weather, then we're not open. No.
So thanks for that, man. Check out my guy. Check out Outbreak Wrestling. It's good stuff. It's entertaining. If you love wrestling the way we do, it definitely entertains. So check it out on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and you will know when his next episodes drop, which is ordinarily on Saturdays. Correct?
Saturdays, and there is a new company that's just started some tapings. DEFCON Pro Wrestling.
DEFCON,
they have a YouTube channel, I believe, as well. They're only like I think they drop every Friday nights at 7 or 7:15. I think this is like their 8th episode, maybe. So they're fairly new to everything. Little different than Outbreak, but still good quality wrestling and stuff. So search for DEFCON. It's spelled a little different, but it's DEFQON. So search for it on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find it. And it's an alternative to other stuff that's out there. And like I said, a lot of the stuff is fresh and new. We try to keep up storylines, and we're trying to give entertainment to people that just either are afraid to go out, they can't go out.
Spelled like that? Is it spelled like that?
DFQ. Oh man, you know what? I'm kind of curious. When DFQ, I think it's ON. There's no U, even though it's weird.
Right.
It's a weird spelling. Actually, let me double check the spelling just to be sure. I'm almost sure it's
There's no U.
right. Yeah, there's no U. It's DEFQON Pro Wrestling. Yep.
I got you.
So, but if you get a chance to check that out as well, because there's something new. So, but yeah, Outbreak has been going since the 4th of July, and we're looking to go throughout this whole year, and we're hoping that shows will eventually open up that we can do some, but right now it's just it's hard to run a show because limited capacity, social distancing. You have to run through all the steps, or else you can't run.
Yeah, so there is local wrestling happening though. They are starting to allow in Pennsylvania and Jersey partial. So look up your local, support your indies. Get out there and check out local stars. Keith and I always encourage everybody that you have no idea how much wrestling's out there. Just look it up in your area. In New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Quakertown, Reading, Harrisburg, out near the Jersey Shore, down towards Philadelphia. I mean, it's all over. You just got to find it. It's not hard to find. Yep. And WXW in Allentown is another one.
We're spoiling for wrestling out here. We really are in the tri-state.
Thank you, Shango. All right, so our last segment, and Keith, we are bringing back a segment here which I miss. I don't know if Keith misses it or not, but it's called The Professor's Perspective. And I want to do this every Saturday show where he has something to rant about. Because if I don't let the professor rant, Mark, he's an angry professor, and I don't want an angry professor. So
I understand that.
Since we just talked about the best and the worst of Halloween Havoc, he would like to rant for a couple minutes about Halloween Havoc 2020, which actually happened this past Wednesday on NXT, in which I started watching it, and I was actually enjoying. The opening match was Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest for the North American Championship, which actually ended up being a pretty decent match. He sends me a comment, and he says, all right, well, how are they going to follow that? Because that was actually pretty good. Right. And then later on in the evening, or maybe even the next day, I read a comment from Keith that said that basically Halloween Havoc 22 was an abortion. So an abortion. So I will let him speak to that and give us the professor's perspective on Halloween Havoc 2020.
So here's the problem. They are guilty of impersonating a wrestling show, in my opinion. Because you start with Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest, and it's a wrestling show. And yes, they go a little over the top in places. But you have a situation which I don't like personally, where we get into WWE, I think, goes overboard whenever they do the spin the wheel concept. Because they always go, let's have every match be spin the wheel. Well, I don't think that's the way to go personally, because spin the wheel is supposed to be random. Right. Theoretically, it's kind of like the Taboo Tuesday thing, where they say, "Oh, we're going to let people randomly vote on everything," but no, let them do one match that way, because then you can put some stuff on there that you can entice the fans with, but you're not going to necessarily do it. I just feel like it's too much gimmick.
Well, the thing is, though, not to interrupt you, but the thing is, though, weren't they kind of playing an homage to what you said was that Halloween Havoc did a spin the wheel thing in the beginning?
They did on the one show with 92, but they also only did it in the one match.
Okay.
They did not do it across the show.
Gotcha.
I also think this was an effort to give me way more Shotzi Blackheart than I will ever want in my life. I'm not a Shotzi Blackheart fan.
Okay.
I think she's over the top. I think it doesn't work. I think they see a star there where there's not a star. I've also heard some things about extracurricular activities that Shotzi Blackheart used to do before she was with WWE, that if somebody trigs WWE off to what she was doing, they're probably not going to be as super happy with her as they are now. I don't like Shotzi, so anything that gives me a lot of Shotzi Blackheart is going to automatically get points off. She was way over the top during this show. I didn't want to see it. We had another cinematic match with Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis, which was
Dexter
horrible.
Lumis and Cameron Grimes.
I hated it. I hated everything about it. It made no sense. It's not wrestling.
I didn't hate it, for the record.
Dumbassery to me. No. By about 9:30, I'd had enough, and I'm like, I can't watch this.
Okay.
You guys gave me one wrestling match on this show, and the rest of it was just WWE stupidity. This is why I've been turned off to NXT, which I used to love and I used to champion. At this point, NXT has just become WWE Light. It's just another extension of Raw and SmackDown, which I turned off a while ago because nothing is happening on there that makes me happy. It's not the workers' fault. It's not. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. It's just the creative is that bad to me.
Mark, you have your thoughts?
I have a question for you, actually. So you said you didn't like it. You didn't, so did you really believe WWE could make Halloween Havoc good?
I like to believe NXT can make things good if they're left alone. The problem is, and I was championing this to people, the friends of ours, and saying, Vince McMahon is starting to get involved in NXT, and people would go, you're crazy, I don't see what you see. Because I was starting to say that when we started to see the Robert Stone character and all the annex with Robert Stone, and when Shotzi Blackheart debuted with the tank and all that, I'm like, NXT is done. It's over. It's obvious. Vince has got his fingers in it now, and anything that Vince has got his fingers in at this point in the game, I'm personally not going to be a fan of. And I know a lot of people are not fans of that either, and people started to tell me I was crazy. And now here we are in October, and it feels like everybody's kind of begrudgingly saying, oh, yeah, you were right about that, weren't you?
Well, I mean, I didn't see the NXT special. I didn't see that, but I haven't really seen a lot of Raw or SmackDown. I've seen some more Raw than I have SmackDown lately. I've heard different stories about the good and the bad and everything, but I don't know. Like for me, even being involved as much as I am, I'm a true believer is I just watch the storyline, see what develops, whatever happens, good or bad. The trouble is, and I've said this for years, and I don't say much because I know it would start a lot of wars. And I've said it before and I kind of stopped, but I mean, people complain about WWF, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, Vince, NXT, that doesn't matter. The thing that gets me is they continue to watch. Turn the channel. I mean, if I didn't like a show, why would I continue to watch it week after week after week? And these guys do. I'm watching Raw and this sucks. That's horrible.
Right.
Turn the channel, please. Stop complaining. Stop bitching on social media. Yeah, because now everybody has a voice on social media. So, oh man, I watched this. This was horrible. I watch it every week. Why? Why do you put yourself through that? Like, so I just love wrestling. I watch it for the storyline. Yeah, the story maybe not great. But again, I'm on the other side going, they're making a ton of money and I'm not.
Wow.
So I'm envy because like they've got 6-figure contracts and I'm sitting at home going, I'd love to be there. I'd love to be behind the scenes making that money. I'd love to be behind being an agent, being something to make that type of money. So for me, yeah, is it good or bad? yeah, there's some stuff that's not good, and yeah, it may suck, but at the same time, being part of the business, I know that they've got a contract and I don't. But that's the difference when you're jumping the rail from a guy that's been in it and the
Yeah.
people that just kind of watch it and they want to have fun with it and it's horrible or they don't like it, or some people like it, some people don't. But some guys, are hardcore, and I've seen this online. Like a lot of guys are like, man, I hate this show. Then why do you watch? Just change the channel.
In fairness to the professor, I know for a fact that he used to watch and now he doesn't because he's unhappy with the product, especially when it comes to Raw and SmackDown. NXT.
I can tell you the last time I've watched either of those.
Yes,
NXT.
NXT he used to, and so have I, religiously watched for 5 years at least, and every takeover was great. And then it seems like in the past probably year, maybe two, you could see Vince McMahon getting involved with NXT because you can see subtle differences.
Once we got to that In Your House takeover, that's where I really started to say, like, Vince is getting his fingers in it. And that's where I turned off NXT, and I was I don't need to watch this anymore.
Yeah, okay, but did
so
you
like you say, it's the difference between being a fan and, like you say, if you want to enact change as a fan, don't watch things that make you mad. Don't give it ratings. Don't give it your time. Don't spend your money on it. Because then Vince McMahon is going to look at it, and he's going to go, F you, I got your money. Fuck you, I got your money. Fuck you, I got your eyeballs. Fuck you. You're feeding the machine. I don't care if you're booing when I want you to cheer. I don't care because you're still feeding the machine.
Yeah, and
right, and the thing is, that's the thing is, what's the big? I always said that, and I forget originally who started it. It might have been Bischoff or somebody goes, controversy creates cash.
Yeah, that was
so
if
you hate something and you trash it online, you're still talking about it. That means you're relevant. And I mean, so if you're relevant, people are going to see that and they're like, what are they talking about? People that have no idea what it's about. Maybe I should go check it out. All of a sudden they check it out and they might like it. So now the people that are trashing it are getting people to like it. And then they're going to talk about it. So it's always like that spinning wheel. Whereas talk about it all you want, good or bad, but keep me relevant because that's going to make me money. The ratings, because you're going to watch. So you're going to be part of the ratings. So maybe you don't like so maybe you'll maybe have the network. And it's only $10 a month or whatever. So what? But it's $10 a month that he's taking from you every month. Whether you like Raw or SmackDown or NXT, if you just like it for like the older stuff or different things, he's still winning because he's got your money, like you said. So
$10 a month.
Keep me relevant. And,
you're right. Right. And look, it took me Keith has felt this way a while. It took me a long time to get to where he was. I was where you are, where I'm just a fan and I love the story. I watch wrestling. I love wrestling. I watch it for the stories. And, AEW, when it first came out, I was really excited. And now it seems like there's too many people in charge there and they don't have really a direction. They got too many, as Keith puts it, cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, where it just seems to be all over the place. And so I'm really worried about it. And I feel like this show is now my wrestling release, right? It's my wrestling outlet where I can talk about wrestling, old school wrestling, but also talk about possible futures with possible stars that might possibly make it to AEW or NXT or wherever. And that's exciting to me. That got me back into wrestling because I was really getting away from it based on the current product, as we call it, not really turning me on. And like you said, I would change the channel. I would watch. We used to get together and watch pay-per-views every single month live. Right. We stopped doing that because it's not what it used to be. I mean, obviously COVID doesn't help in certain aspects of it. There's only so many things they can do. But I know a lot of wrestling fans really miss live crowds. They miss that interaction. They miss the chants, the "you suck" chants, the boos, the whatevers. And I often wonder when I'm watching a match nowadays, like say when I was watching Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, what kind of reaction would there have been? If
Probably a fucking bad reaction to that finish. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah, probably. Hi, Courtney.
Hey. See, and here's the thing too: is like I'm still a firm believer that because of the COVID, wrestling has really changed, like to a point where, like, I mean, we hear now, like whether it's true or not, they say that some cases are going up again. Certain states might, like North Carolina, might go on that list of may not be able to. If you visit, you might have to quarantine. I heard West Virginia might. The thing is, if this doesn't change soon, whether they find a vaccine for people to go out and be able to get better quick or whatever.
Yes.
I have a feeling coming next year, wrestling online, the virtual stuff is going to be the key to a lot of things because, if I'm not saying we'll have another shutdown, but if we have something where it's going to be minimal and they can't run shows, the only thing you're going to have is what you can watch on your TV or on your internet or whatever you got. So, I'm a firm believer that COVID has changed wrestling again. Wrestling has been changing over the years, but I think that, you're going to see like, hey, we're going to do virtual shows and we're going to have people pay. And here's the thing too, and I've said it before, you spend $10 for a show. Okay. Like say, for example, if we were to do Outbreak and say, like tonight being an episode, we say, hey, $5 or $10 to watch the show. We put it on like on Twitch or somewhere.
Right.
If you really wanted to watch wrestling, you think an hour and a half, and I get, for $10, I get an hour and a half of wrestling. Okay, it's $10. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to pay tickets. You don't have to worry about getting COVID. You don't have to worry about spending gas, food, because you got it all in your house. So $10, hey, it's $10. If it's good, I'll watch it again. If it's not, I won't get it again.
Yep.
And if it's good enough, people are going to get hooked and they're going to want more and more, and I think that's going to be the new trend eventually, unless something can get where we can keep a wrap on COVID to get it where it's semi back to normal.
Yeah. And I think a lot's going to, and I don't want to say this because Keith, it'll light a fire under Keith, but I think it's going to have a lot to do with what happens in this election because I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer that if it goes one way, this damn thing is going to be over sooner than later, and if it goes the other way, it's going to last longer than we want it to.
Right.
So I'm hoping that
I can agree with that.
They're already talking like depending, like you said, whoever gets in. But I know that if you listen to little things here and there, which I don't watch a lot of stuff, but like. Bits and pieces, like something to scroll through Facebook, but they're talking about social distancing into 2022. Yeah. So what is that? Right now, they're saying that for 2022. We're not even 2021 yet.
No, I think that's the worst. I think that's a worst case scenario.
Well, right. What I'm saying is, if that's what they think could happen, so what does that mean for next year? Like,
I mean, the NFL is already starting to have people in the stadiums. Like Eagles games, they're allowing 5,000 people in the stadiums. The Super Bowl wants to have 20,000 in the stadium so that it actually looks like a crowd there. Socially distanced, groups spread apart throughout the stadium. Everybody wearing masks. I think, if it's done right, if, people get temperature checked on the way in, I mean, they take a minute or two to check your bags. Why can't they check your temperature on the way in?
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's doable, but at the same time, until a vaccine comes out, and I'm a believer that a vaccine is already there. They just need to mass produce it and have it ready for possibly, 2021, I hope. But again, I'm being safe. My job is is also causing me to be safe. And I urge everybody out there to be safe. Just follow guidelines and be safe. Again, we don't get political on this show. We talk about wrestling, and I just want everybody to be safe. But you know what you just said about the current direction wrestling's going, where it's more online stuff, is couldn't be further from the truth, because it really, I mean, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Is absolutely true, because and you're an innovator, you know, and a lot of your friends who said you need to talk to this guy because he is a brilliant mind. You're proving it to me, because you're already thinking down the road about having more online stuff at our disposal. So if we can't buy a ticket to come see Outbreak live, we can buy a ticket to see Outbreak online, and that's genius.
Right. And the thing is, like, now it's just it's like anything, you know, you have to get followers, you know, and it takes a lot of time, like, build a following with people that are, you know, supporting you.
Keith and I are doing it right now. Keith and I are doing it right now. All right. We've been doing this show for about 6 months. All right. And we're still building an audience.
Right.
Because we want to get to the point where we have a big enough stage so that, say, a relatively unknown guy who's only been wrestling for a year or 2 or 3 comes on here, and we give him a stage to say who you are, tell us your story, and where can we find you, and where do you think you're going?
Right.
And that's what this has become. I mean, on Saturday nights, we talk old school. We talked Halloween Havoc tonight and things like that. We talked The Ultimate Warrior. In case you missed it, go back to the beginning. Because I got one more war. I want to really blow Keith out of the water, so I got one more Warrior rant as we go off. But anyway, we talk old school on Saturdays, and then on Sundays we have our guests who are all local indie wrestlers who are all love this business and want to, you know, either want to get better at it, or if they're young enough and they're good enough, they want to get to the big leagues. So more power to them. Support your indies online. Go to Outbreak Wrestling YouTube and check him out. Go to, just look it up. You can find it. It's at your disposal. There are live shows happening this month. There are live shows happening in November in our local wrestling. CCW's having matches and at the end of November, 27th, 28th, I believe they're having a 2-day thing. CCW. I mean, just look it up. You can find these places. Triple WA in Quakertown. It's also having an event at the end of November. So, just find it. It's out there for your taking.
News leading into that. We're going to be promoting some of the Triple WA stuff. Because, I mean, it really is at this point for the independents, especially the smaller independents. I mean, Mark, you're right. It's difficult because you have to rent a building. You have to be able to do the capacity. You have to do all this math now that you didn't have to do before to say, Jesus, is it even feasible to rent a building? Because if I can't sell the building out because I'm not allowed to because of what's going on with the pandemic, you have to start asking yourself then, can I get to a place where I can sell enough tickets to not only make the rental worth it, but be able to make some kind of a profit off of it? So, I mean, you're right in saying it's crunch time in a lot of ways. And, unfortunately, we've seen some promotions go out of business this year because of the pandemic. Some of the bigger, what you would think of as the bigger independents, because they could not run WrestleMania weekend.
Right.
That was enough to decimate their business model and put them down. So
how many tickets do they sell, Keith, for Hall of Fame, for Access?
No, I'm not talking about WWE. WWE is fine. WWE is not hurting for money anytime soon. I'm talking about Evolve.
Oh.
I'm talking about the hanger-on events that look at when WrestleMania touches down somewhere.
Yes.
They go, boom, I'm going to run a show at least one of those days for that weekend. And some of these promotions are reliant on the money they'll make from that show to get them through to the rest of the year. and they couldn't do that this year, and it decimated them. And I mean, I'm happy to say I haven't heard of a lot of promotions having that problem.
Right.
They haven't gone out of business. But I mean, you're right, Mark, and I got to stress this to our audience. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm not trying to say this is the end of wrestling, because the wrestling business is a cockroach. It'll keep going. It's built to survive. It's been through worse shocks. You know, but it needs us. It needs us to be committed. It needs us to, when there's a show out there, support it. Support what Mark's doing. Support what your local independents that do rent a building and say, hey, we're going to sell X amount of tickets. Be one of the people that buys those tickets. Support it, because, you know, yes, it's a cockroach, but we got to help the cockroach stay alive.
And, you know, you made a great, valid point that a lot of people don't maybe realize or understand. When you talk about all those promotions, imagine wrestling without WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, those promotions, they feed off that whole week. They run shows that whole week. How many companies run and make a bunch of money that week because, hey, WrestleMania is in town.
Yes.
The stars are there. Now they're going to piggyback off of that and make a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. Imagine if there was no WrestleMania. How many of those companies would still be around, because that whole week they didn't make any money. So it just goes to show how important WrestleMania really is.
Well said, both of you. You hit the nail right on the head. We've gone well over the hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. Is there any, Miss Mark, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem. I'm glad I made it. I mean, I was a little late, but I was
you made it right at you made it right at 8 o'clock, brother, and I appreciate it big time. I appreciate
thank you. I appreciate this, you know.
I love talking to you, and we could talk all night. I know me and the professor could probably talk to you for another hour and a half, probably more. But,
right.
Keith, you got any part to give?
Maybe we need a part 3 then.
Oh no!
I love a part 3.
This was a Halloween Havoc special. This wasn't a Mark Mest part 2. I still want that Mark Mest part 2. You know what I mean?
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah. let me be clear. You were a guest panelist tonight, not a guest. So
Oh, okay. Oh,
because usually when we have a guest, we make it all about him. We talked about Halloween Havoc. We talked about the good and the bad of Halloween Havoc. And Keith, I'll let you guys be the judge about whether there's more good or more bad on Halloween Havoc. If you want to check out Halloween Havoc, it's on the WWE Network. Just search Halloween Havoc, WCW pay-per-views. It's under WCW pay-per-views, and there are, I believe, 11 or 12 of them. Check them out. I recommend the earlier ones from 89 to 95 versus the 96 to 2000s. But that's me. As Keith pointed out earlier. So we're going to get out of here. Keith, you got any parting gifts?
I'm so glad Mark came on tonight. He's a great guest, and obviously he knows what he's talking about in terms of the business.
Always.
You know, anybody that we've interviewed from the local scene, you know, before we ever got Mark on here, they were always like, get Mark Mest.
Get Mark on there. Get Mark on there, yeah.
And he's always a treat. It's always great to pick your brain and talk about wrestling. Because you love it.
Like I said, you know, I love, and this is my 29th year, and like the passion, just the love of the business, the ins and outs. And again, I like to be like, it's magic to me. I'm making magic. When you go out there in a match and the crowd's going yay and boo,
right? Because
it's what you do in that ring. That's magic, you know, to mix with somebody's emotions, to make somebody, you know, to make somebody happy or sad. I made kids cry already as a heel. I feel bad, but at the same time, I'm like,
you did it right. You did something right.
You know, so also, you know what? I do want to say one thing, which I think
on that have not been.
The passing of Tracy Smothers has been a real hit for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring that up, and I meant to today. What a horrible blow that is.
God bless Tracy. He was a great guy. I met him a few times, and
cool.
You know, I wish the Smothers family well, and hopefully they can get through this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cancer sucks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cancer really does. It's
Yep.
impacted my family.
He wasn't that old, right, Keith?
No, he was not.
That old. Mark, you know how old he was?
59, I believe I read.
58.
58 years old.
Even
Yeah,
worse.
that's sad. And we had another passing. I believe it was yesterday in the late great Sean Connery, which he was 90 years old, and one of my all time favorite actors of all time. So rest in peace, Sean Connery, Sir Sean Connery.
Yes.
He was an amazing talent, once in a lifetime talent.
Yep, I agree.
James Bond, and with that. I have been the Big Al Boski. He has been Mean Mark Mest, and we will have him on soon enough to have a part 2.
Yes.
He is the Professor Keith. And once again, I must invoke the power of the Ultimate Warrior.
Must
say,
you, though?
yes, I must. And say,
Speak to me, warriors! For I am here, and I have come to not ruin around the turnbuckle, but to take it to places it shall never have been.
Ladies and gentlemen,
What you gonna do, brother?
oh yeah!
Woo! What?
If you smell what the rock